Hey everyone, this is Greenspud Trades. Last week I went to the Indianapolis Python Data Conference for 2019. In case you're unfamiliar with Python, it's a programming language and it's also a scripting language, so it's very similar to Perl or Ruby, and it's being used a lot in areas such as finance because it has a lot of good math libraries and it's become a popular tool to assist with writing algorithms and doing machine learning type of tasks. So this conference interested me because many of the lectures were going to be about machine learning and the state that it's in today. So I was able to learn quite a bit about where the technology's at and some of the tools being used, and here are some of my key takeaways. So one of the most relieving things I've learned last week is that we're actually very far off from developing general artificial intelligence. Most machine learning algorithms and artificial intelligence systems are actually based on narrow AI learning, which means that they're built to solve very specific problems rather than being able to think like a human brain does. Even though it's designed to learn, it can't learn in a way where it could write new code or teach itself completely new skills. It could only learn by adding new data to an existing algorithm. We probably won't have to worry about Skynet for another few years. One of the lectures I thought was very good was sort of an introduction to machine learning. It covered what types of problems that machine learning is equipped to solve. So the way we write computer code most of the time today is that we have a very specific outcome that we're going for. Like if you're building a website or some other type of application, you know exactly what the screens are going to look. You plan out every single thing that it's going to do. But machine learning algorithms are actually to solve a different type of problem, which you have some uncertainty of what you want to get out of it. So a good example of this is if you want to use a computer to recognize a particular pattern in something, like an image, or make some type of interpretation of a lot of data. That's something that machine learning is very good for. The reason that machine learning is better for that than coding is because when you're writing code, you have to know exactly what to code. Whereas if you have like a machine learning sort of algorithm, what you do is you set up some generalized parameters for it to look at, and then what you would do is you would feed it a large data set and sort of train it that way off of this initial seed data, telling it what is a picture of a dog and what's a picture of not a dog, such as a cat or something like that. And then the algorithm itself will do something like a very complex regression analysis where it could figure out what sort of details in the image actually make up what it is that you're looking for. Think of the machine learning algorithm as a very complicated regression model, such as if you were a realtor trying to figure out what the price of a house would be. You would make a linear regression model which takes inputs such as square footage, the age of the building, the number of rooms inside of the building. Does it have a garage, not a garage, things like that. And then using all those dimensions, you get this price. Well, that's all that machine learning does, but it's just doing it on many more dimensions. Now, one of the disadvantages I learned about machine learning during this conference is how fragile machine learning algorithms could be and how easily fooled they can be. And this is very dangerous because what's going on in these regression analyses is so complex that it's difficult for humans to understand what's going on with the math. And therefore, when you're using a machine learning algorithm, it could give you outputs, but it can't really explain why it's doing a particular thing. And one of the things that could happen is you might think an algorithm is working properly, but it's not working properly for the reasons that you think or would normally expect. So in that example about trying to identify a dog, well, there was an example given during the conference of some researchers who were giving an algorithm pictures of dogs and wolves, trying to see if the algorithm could differentiate between a dog and a wolf. And it became very effective at doing this. But what they discovered was that it was actually not looking at the picture of the animal, but identifying whether it was a dog or wolf based on the terrain in the background. It was able to detect snow, and most of the wolf pictures had snow in them. So there's a situation where you have a correlation but causation type of problem, and that happens a lot when machine learning. And there are several instances where this sort of problem happened in real life companies that have tried to use machine learning in some of their processes, where it could not only incorrectly pick out the criteria that it's using, but it might even use biased criteria based on the inputs. So in one instance, Amazon.com, they tried using a machine learning algorithm to help them make better hiring decisions. And what they did was they fed it a bunch of resumes of people that the company hired, but then they found out that the algorithm had a bias because there was actually a bias in the hiring of their past employees. So because the company was predominantly men, the algorithm ended up becoming biased against women, and a lot of people who were coming from women's colleges were getting excluded. So an impression that I got about the state of machine learning right now is that it's actually got a very long way to go, and it's subject to a lot of the types of human sort of errors of picking the wrong data or coming to the wrong conclusions. Scrubbing the data to make sure that it is fair and unbiased is actually a very important task, and it's one that's very tedious to make sure that when you're building a machine learning algorithm, it's trained on a very good, clean set of data that's accurate. So one of the things that machine learning is kind of leading us to, though, as far as industry goes, is that it's sort of going to eventually blur the lines between the real world and the virtual world. So as we get more data and as these machine learning algorithms get better at the specific things that they do, there's going to be opportunities for them to do more things autonomously. You're going to have more algorithms making actual decisions and running machines, turning systems on and off, or doing tasks like driving cars or things of that nature. They're actually going to be not just an aid to helping humans make better decisions, but actually put into systems where they will be making the decisions themselves. So an idea that I've been thinking about a lot lately is whether a machine learning algorithm could be applied to stock trading, because these algorithms are great at looking at data and finding patterns in that data. It's about pattern recognition. That's what they're kind of designed to do and what they're good at. But that's also what day traders and technical analysis traders do, is that they look at stock chart patterns and they try to extrapolate probabilities of what's going to happen next based on the patterns of those charts. And I think that's actually a pretty good way that you could apply a machine learning algorithm. But I think some of the things that would make doing that tricky is getting the variables right to make just like the types of correlation and causation types of problems, you want to make sure that it's looking at the right things. So you would want it to look at like the price and the volume over time, and the price level ranges But more importantly, I think the thing that makes trading really difficult is sizing in and sizing out of positions, because what you're doing is probability based, and even if you could look at a particular pattern and make a decision that it's likely to move, the stock is likely to move this way, or go up or down, it's often difficult to determine what the extent of that move is going to be, whether it's going to move up a lot or move down a lot. And that's something that actually fluctuates over time with different market environments. So that's something that an algorithm would have to take into account, is what type of general market environment and what the volatility like is at a particular given time. And it would have to also decide, how much, it would have to come up with a certainty figure to figure out how much money should be invested in a given setup and exactly what the buy and sell points would be. And I think that would be the biggest challenge of building a machine learning algorithm for stocks. I think it can be done. So finally, some of the things that I took away from the conference as far as getting started in the world of AI and machine learning. There are some tools out there that you could use. The most popular one is called TensorFlow, which is a Python-based machine learning algorithm tool. It actually runs the regressions for you, but you kind of have to design your own algorithms. There's actually one that's probably a little bit easier to get started with, called Scikit, in which they give you a few sort of base algorithms as templates to work with. And that one's a very popular tool for beginners. Because developing an algorithm yourself can be very difficult, picking out those correct variables that you want to analyze, there are actually RESTful web API services out there that big companies like Google are offering now, or Microsoft, where something like speech-to-text recognition, the researchers at these big companies have figured out what the correct variables are to analyze those and categorize them. So there are RESTful APIs you could use to sort of rely on their algorithms. Well, I hope you found this little synopsis of things that I'm finding out about machine learning and AI to be interesting. If you like this and you'd like me to do more videos like this, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of interesting analyses of stocks that I'm following, which I like to share here on my YouTube channel. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.